Welcome back to to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're following me right now and you're new to my channel, I welcome to you newbies. I'm AspieAnswersAll, and I'm all about talking about mental health awareness versus pretty much my life story and journey with Asperger's syndrome, depression, OCD, and the like. And so I am doing another, channel kind of thing, but it went under as a playlisting now of the Beauty from Ashes, basically, where I entail as a support advocate, mentor, or guidance for yourselves of everyday topics that we go through, be it, relationship problems versus depression, eating disorders, and the like, based on my everyday training and expertise I've done through Youthline, and some of my just everyday encounterships that I go through that I thought maybe to share close to my heart of some tips and advice along the way, regardless what it may be, and hopefully that something that I, share with you that is close to my heart will come of value and use to you in that present time that you're in, and that's hopefully that no matter what, that like I said and so many times before with many of you, that with the videos I've been doing, basically that hopefully the channel that I'm creating on my side of it will be a place where it be safe, no one will feel judged, criticized, or whatever. It's like that also hopefully on my AspieAnswersAll Facebook page, when I've been posting up certain bits and pieces, be it my updates of what I've been up to versus basically also just my videos that has been linked up to the YouTube channel for the ones that don't have a YouTube channel. That's where some at the moment, so that people can just enjoy them, or whatever the case may be, or the reason and purpose for them to view the channel, or videos as such. Just to give you the lowdown basically at this point of time. Also, before I continue though, just remember that I'm no basically medical doctor in the profession, but I'm just an everyday person that has her own struggles, be it depression, OCD, Asperger's syndrome, and the like, at this point of time when I'm taking you all on a journey of my life. That if you see any classic signs of or symptoms that I may share of some mental health theories, feel free to seek professional help for yourself or for the one that you're concerned about. Also, feel free to seek, second opinion if you feel it doesn't fit. I do my very best to at least, bring out what I feel is best in my day and age of what works, because we know that, what may work for me may not work for others, but it's a matter of just maybe a continuation of basically doing some of the other steps of these tips and advice that I do share with you all on some of these series, regardless what it may be. So in all further ado, guys, at this point of time, I've been collaborating or researching up about auditory processing disorder, which is the next part of the processing disorders, which the first piece was sensory processing disorder, but this one's auditory processing disorder. So far, I have covered basically what it is, the definitions of auditory processing disorder, a little brief information about how we hear, also the diagnosis, the definitions, that's going to come up soon, versus basically like the diagnoses that I've just put on, as well as the causes. So this one basically right now will be characteristics part 1, which in children of auditory processing disorders, since this will come into 2 parts, which will be, and the other part will be all about adults of this. So let's begin. As we know, basically what I've been researching, the National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, however, states that children with auditory processing disorders often has these key characteristics. Number 1, they will have trouble paying attention, to and remembering information that is presented orally, and may cope better with visually acquired information. So therefore, like a tip there for those ones that basically maybe some illustrated diagrams versus basically some to-do lists or something along the lines that gets them to interact basically with you, not just by the actual hearing, but maybe using the other 5 parts of their 5 senses. Number 2 of this will be that the children will have problems carrying out multiple step directions, given only need to hear only one direction at a time. So basically what I'm saying here is some of them may just be able to just focus on the one activity. Here's an example with some people with Asperger's syndrome or autism, and can only focus on one sole activity no matter what it may be. And that we just no need to rush them, even if it does take them slower to process that information that you actually said in the given instruction to them. By all means, basically you can probably demonstrate to them how to go about it, this just basically with your pair of hands, or by a diagram or something that you can draw and explained at the same time for that child. Number 3, they had poor listening skills. Number 4, they need more time to process information. Number 5, they had behavioural problems. So basically, as they reckon, for people with auditory disorders, processing disorders will be linked into, certain learning disabilities, be it ADHD, APD, autism, Asperger's syndrome, and the like there. They'll also have language difficulties. For example, they may confuse some of the syllable sequences or have problems developing vocabulary and understanding the language that you share with them. Last but not least, have difficulty with reading comprehension, spelling, and vocabulary. Okay, to continue on though, auditory processing disorder can manifest as problems determining the direction of sounds, difficulty in perceiving basically the differences between the speech sounds that they may hear and the sequencing between those sounds as you put it together in a string of sentence into meaningful words, confusing similar sounds, such as maybe they'll confuse the words with hat to bat, there to where, etc., etc. Fewer words may be perceived than were actually said, as then problems detecting gaps between words, creating a sense that someone is speaking unfamiliar or nonsense words. Those suffering from auditory processing disorders, however, may have problems relating what has been said with its meaning, despite obvious sounds such as a radio, television, or a noisy car can make it difficult to impossible to understand, as well as the repetition of the word, shall I say. Background noise, such as I just said, can be difficult to or impossible to understand the speech, since spoken words may sound distorted, either into irrelevant words or words that doesn't even exist in the vocabulary, depending on the severity of the auditory processing disorder in a child, because it may vary from child to child, depending on also so many factors, like as I mentioned before. If it runs in the family genetically, basically it could affect them in that kind of form of manner, or it could be another one, as I said before, like a learning disorder, be it ADHD, ADD, or some form of that. Using a telephone can be problematic for someone with auditory processing disorder in comparison with someone that is normal auditory processing disorder, due to low quality audio, poor signal, intermittent sounds, and the tripping of words. Many of who have auditory processing disorders, however, may consciously develop visual coping strategies such as lip reading, reading body language, and eye contact to compensate for the auditory defect that they have got. And these coping strategies aren't always available when using the telephone, however. Okay, I'll just read briefly also that should come into this, that the relation to specific language impairment and developmental dyslexia, okay, for this part for children, because obviously, it starts off with the learning disabilities in children. So what I've got here, basically, it has been so many considerable debates over many centuries and decades over the relationship between auditory processing disorders and specific learning impairment, be it, for example, ADHD versus dyslexia versus the like. Specific learning language impairment is diagnosed when a child has difficulties with understanding or producing spoken language for no obvious cause or reason. The problems cannot be explained in terms of peripheral hearing loss, however. The child is typically late in starting to talk and may have problems in producing speech sounds clearly and in producing or understanding complex sentences. Some theoretical accounts of specific language impairment, however, isn't universally accepted, and that this matter of regards basically the main difficulties in specific language impairment is stemming from problems with high-level aspects of language processing. Where a child has both auditory and language problems, it can be hard to sort out or cause an effect on what's going on. Similarly, with developmental dyslexia, however, for children, basically there has been considerable interest basically of the idea for some children, with their reading problems are downstream consequences of difficulties and rapid auditory processing. And again, cause and effect can be hard to unravel or to detect, or even just to, solve or recognized. This is one reason why experts such as Moore have recommended using non-verbal auditory tests to diagnose APD. It's also been suggested that auditory processing disorders may be related to cluttering, which is a fluency disorder marked by word and phrase repetitions. If it is commonly done, however, auditory processing disorders is accessed using tests that involve identifying, repeating, or discriminating speech, then a child may do poorly because of primarily language problems. In a study comparing children with the diagnosis of dyslexia, however, and those with the diagnosis of auditory processing disorders, they found the two groups couldn't be both distinguished at the same time. Because obviously, as they have obtained similar findings in these studies comparing these children with, specific language, whatever I just said, or auditory processing disorder. The two groups had very similar profiles. This raises the worrying possibility that the diagnosis that a child receives may be a large hugely function of the specialist they see. The same child who would be diagnosed with auditory processing disorders by an audiologist or hearing specialist may be diagnosed with SLI by a speech language therapist or with dyslexia by a psychologist. Well, basically that ends the first part of basically the characteristics of auditory processing disorders. Give me the like for thumbs up for support and showing that you're engaging. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, AspieAnswersAll. Feel free to comment below if I've missed out anything, because at the moment I'm trying to do it step by step so that it's easy to follow for you all. Basically, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and also share my videos around to your family and friends. So thanks for your support so far. Thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Until next time, I'll see you all again soon.